Welcome to the Money Pig Podcast, presented by Goodwin Investment Advisory, where our mission is to lead you to financial pig, peace, independence, and generosity. I'm your host, Tim Goodwin. Welcome back to the Money Pig Podcast. We're super excited today to have the one, the only Kevin Williams. Kevin, so excited to have you here today. Let's go. So Kevin is a Chick-fil-A operator. And what's really special about Kevin is one store is not enough for Kevin. Kevin has 3 stores in Cherokee County, Georgia, that he is the operator for. And he's also the author of Irrational Kindness. This is a book that we read as a team. We do a couple team reads a year. And I remember I got in touch with you and had you come by and surprise the team on our last book discussion. Yes. Weren't we like at Moxie Burger or something? Oh my gosh. So we have like that. Yes. a really cool surprise. And we were really inspired by the book. Let's see, I've got a bio here that I want to read. Kevin is known for leading with generosity, hospitality, and humility. He believes in seeing the human behind the role, turning failure into growth, and building a culture where kindness isn't just rational, it's transformational. Through his leadership, his book, and his community work with New Ground Foundation, Kevin lives out a model of what it looks like to be a generous employer. So we are super excited to have you here today.
Tim, thanks for having me. And you lead this direction too. So I'm just glad to we get to cheer each other on and walk, inspire each other, but also just walk together in the good and the bad. So I'm grateful for our friendship.
So maybe share something the audience doesn't know about you. We just gave a little bio on your work. Maybe share something else.
Well, I really, as I look forward, I just want to be a great grandfather. I'm not a great grandfather, just a terrific granddad.
Eventually a great grandfather. Eventually a terrific great grandfather.
I just love getting inspired by how can I really, be a terrific, be there for my kids' parents and my kids, and just be a terrific dad to them. So that's what really inspires me oftentimes, so it's not really something maybe that's not exciting, but that's really where my brain always wants to make sure I'm checking the box on.
Well, I think it's great because we're going to be talking maybe a little bit more about us being employers in the workspace. So, to talk about how much you care about that and how much you still care about your family. I was just talking with a mentor of mine. He was just talking about how much he's grateful for his parents and was sharing about the respect he has for his parents and his upbringing. And I thought, man, that's so cool. That's like straight up a 10 commandment, honor your father and mother. It comes with a promise and I'll give you long life. So,
well, being available is really important to me. And so it was important to my parents, and I got to watch them live it out. They were just always available. And I just don't want to miss. I'm going to miss some things all the time with people. I'm going to fail a lot of people. I'm not going to live up to what everybody wants me to do between work but I just don't want to miss my availability to my kids and grandkids. And so that's really what my focus is. Oftentimes to make sure I can get an A there. I may get a B or a C or D and other things. I want to really shoot for getting an A in that role.
Absolutely. That's awesome. So I'm going to take a quick shift here. So do you like cheese? Do you like cheese?
I like cheese.
Yeah, I do too. And I like my favorite kind of cheese is one that I just like keep around for emergencies.
Is this the squirt can cheese? Please tell me it's the squirt can cheese on a Ritz cracker. Oh, I hope so.
Is that your favorite kind of cheese?
Oh, dang, that's pretty good.
Just squirting.
Right on a Ritz cheese whiz on a Ritz cracker.
I think you might be onto something. You need to talk to the Chick-fil-A folks that invent those new sandwiches and just be like, we need a cheese whiz with like a layer, like in between a big bun that's made out of Ritz crackers.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're onto something. Yeah. So. But my favorite kind of cheese is just one I keep around for emergencies, just in queso.
Oh, queso. Oh,
sorry. It's a dad joke.
What was it? I even missed it.
Oh, gosh. I was just saying
your delivery, you gave it so quick, I missed the delivery.
D'Angela's dying. I was saying my favorite kind of cheese is one I keep around for emergencies, just in queso.
Oh, there you go. You nailed it. How in the world did I miss that?
Oh, dude, it was because it was so
I messed your joke up with my Ritz cracker.
No, it was perfect. It was great. It just builds in on our love for cheese around here. So I appreciate that. So, all right, we'll get the dad jokes aside. So we'd love to kind of jump into like what you talk about in the book, super inspiring. And when you think about how many employees do you have actually?
We have, between 400 and 450 on staff at all times.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So just oscillates. Like from one day to the next, you might fire 50 people or hire 50 people or.
Yeah, it can be. The other day I saw, well, it depends on what the season is. You got different, we have a lot of rotating.
Right. So
we have a rotating, we are all into, college kids, high school, people in school. So in that comes some automatic turnover when the school season,
right.
We have a lot go away and then a lot come on. And so we constantly are having a certain level of rotation automatically. I had a girl the other day. I was in the front counter on the register and this awesome person was there. She had a beautiful smile. And I'm like, that smile's amazing. We need that smile at Chick-fil-A. You should really look at applying here. And she said, I do work here. I was like, oh no. Oh no. Okay. So that's sometimes the problem with having 400 something people, but she was awesome. I was,
you should work for me. Oh, I do, sir. Oh,
but she was in her regular clothes. So she looked a little different than in her Chick-fil-A, gear. But we have a lot of people that work with us, but it's phenomenal people that really, are, care a lot about the customers, which I love.
That's such a big deal. I think that sets Chick-fil-A apart in so many ways. So let's just kind of, get down to kind of basic principles, grassroots. You call the book Irrational Kindness, The Crazy Pursuit of an Extraordinary Life. So what does that mean to you? What's irrational kindness look like?
Irrational kindness is just looking at things a little different. I mean, Jesus was this for us. He came here and he kind of looked at, he provided grace and he provided, the last should be first and, how we should, take care of the orphans and the poor and just this idea of seeing the world in a new way. And that just really intrigues me. And how can we see our work in a new way? How can we see kindness in a new way? It doesn't mean you have to be walked over or you're not standing up for your values, but you also don't have to be, you don't have to feel like you have to be right in everything. So irrational kindness to me just says, I'm just going to walk alongside people together. We have I think sometimes of a health inspector that comes into your store, a food inspector.
I'm sure you do. You got three stores. They can show up anytime.
They can show up anytime. They come in, they grade you. I love it. When you go to another restaurant, I want to make sure the health inspector is really strict and on point. And I want them to do that for us to make sure that there's no way. But we don't all have to be health inspectors in each other's lives and point out each other's failures all the time. There's a way we can just, say, hey, I can walk alongside you and you may think differently than me. That's okay. That's, doesn't mean I have to, I can be slow to react. Or it's even when a guest comes in and maybe they're not as friendly as some guests or they're distracted on their phone. It doesn't mean they're being a jerk. It just means there may be something going on in their life. So when we start viewing things through a different lens between team members and customers, it starts to change ourselves. So most of the stuff is usually a me problem. When I can change my perspective, I can see things in a different way.
I love that. My family and I, we just had this conversation. So like on Sunday nights, we're still trying to finish up The Chosen. So we try to watch an episode of The Chosen, right? Or we'll do something intentional. And so instead of watching The Chosen on Sunday night, I showed them a TED Talk. Okay. Staff are laughing because I've made them watch TED Talks before. This TED Talk was called How to Not Take Things Personally.
That's great.
And it was, it's a guy who actually said, I was having trouble taking so many things personally. I decided to become a soccer ref. And think about a referee. Like he's like, I just had to train my brain to not take things so personally.
That's
and
great.
He shares, and that's what's great about a TED Talk. They're pretty short and they're very succinct. And you literally shared what he talked about, which is, they're coming up on their phone, you don't know. It could be something really important, something they've been looking forward to all day or whatever. Or maybe they're, not in a place where they're ready to talk to somebody. Like it's not about you, you got to empathize about them, but then there's this aspect where maybe it is about you and why are you taking it so personally? Is it a point of pride? Are you thinking you're overly important or something like that? So that's really cool that you shared that.
Absolutely. And then it can do, if we start perceiving it, we just say it's assume the best in what's going on instead of believing oftentimes you just want to quickly assume the worst when somebody's, and you start getting into it and it's kind of test, when somebody drives, you're assuming the best. You don't know what's going on when somebody's, pulls out in front of you, or
Yeah,
But the
speeds
idea,
around
can we
you.
just look at the world in a little different way? Where and I call it irrational, just because it's it's also just a different way of saying, hey, it's not the way I always want to react.
The default is to be negative. The brain thinks of hundreds of thousands of thoughts a day, and I think something like 80% of them are negative. Like you really do have this battle to express gratitude, thankfulness. Tara writes a lot about this and talks a lot about this, and that's because by what's rational is to kind of go, oh, this person's a jerk. He cut me off, whatever. What's irrational is to go, man, maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they really need to get somewhere.
Yeah, it's an opportunity we all get.
Yeah.
Every day you get to kind of wake up, and how you're going to see it. And just you see it as an opportunity. How am I going to really look at things today is the opportunity. It's the challenges at work. It's the employees that go wacky on you. And they absolutely go wacky on us sometimes. But, when we look at it from a little different angle, slow to react, pull up, pause a little bit, and start to view it in a little different way, we start to get a little more curious of what's going on there instead of so reactionary. And curiosity really slows things down a little bit. And I'm not great at it all the time. When, if something's on fire, let's go put the fire out. But at the same time, most things are not a fire. Most things are really important.
Yep.
And they're really need our quick attention, but they aren't on fire. So how do we slow it down and get curious of what got us to that situation? And not everybody, it can frustrate a team sometimes when you actually go this way, because oftentimes they've seen something going on for a while and maybe they feel like it's time to react.
Right.
But you're just trying to slow it down and say, can we just understand it a little better? I hear what you're saying, but can we also understand it a little better?
Wow. That's good. That's good. I'm just kind of experiencing some real time conviction right here. So yeah, Angela, say amen. Yeah, back here. So one thing that I say succinctly to my children, actually, about what you said is I try to encourage them to be interested instead of interesting. Like you meet somebody, you want to be interesting. You want to be the most interesting person in the room.
Yep.
But I think the most interesting person in the room is a person who's interested, right? And learning about other people. That's that curious spirit that you were talking about, being slow to be like, let me tell you everything about me. Actually, let me just slow down. I want to get to know you.
Yes.
So now I'll share a story. This just blew me away. So we come to your Chick-fil-A 5K, and I come with my older daughter and we said hello to you. And I mean, guys, to give you context, there's 10,000 people there. How many thousands of people come to this 5K you put on?
Yeah, there was probably 3,000 people, 3,500 people.
It felt like 3 million people there, right? Yeah. So but we come up, we say hi, and you just paused and you got to know my daughter Canton. And a lot of times, I'm with her and then there's an adult and they say hi, but you had these series of questions where you found out what she was interested in. She said something probably about writing. You said, tell me some of your story's names. She rattled off some names. You picked a story and then you said, tell me about a character in the story. And you just turned her from this, normal teenage, just kind of whatever, not interested. I'm too cool for this. And you just lit her up passionately, in 3 or 4 questions, you broke her, into being real and sharing something special. And I was so inspired. I was like, how did he just do that so quickly? And I was really inspired by your curiosity just in my own kid. And I was like, I'm going to try to pull a Kevin next time I'm introduced to a teenager and just see if I can actually find out something that makes them come alive.
That is awesome.
4 or 5 questions.
And first of all, she's awesome. Kate.
Yeah,
she is something special. But I could see it in her. But yeah. Oftentimes we have the opportunity. When you do meet, first of all, the young next generation is the most awesome generation. They really care about doing something impactful. They're extremely distracted by a million different things coming at them. But they really want to be a part of something that matters. And when you start tapping into a curiosity around what makes them tick, and it's really a lot of fun to go discover what's going on in different people's minds.
I was super impressed. I was like, he just uploaded her cheat code and all of a sudden, she's connecting with you within seconds. Super inspired. So let's come back to the employerness side of you, this irrational kindness in the workplace. You've given us some kind of how you wrap the framework or the philosophy for your staff. Slow down, be curious, don't overreact. But can you maybe share some more examples of how you're trying to kind of make sure your team is kind of manifesting irrational kindness in the workplace?
Well, I mean, for guests is our number one thing. We really are,
right.
Certainly trying to, I never take a guest for granted. I mean, oftentimes people think, well, Chick-fil-A, we're really busy, so you can just open the doors and
they'll come in.
They'll come in, but I don't think that way. I think, that we open the doors, and when the first guest comes in, we should be, we are pumped that they chose us that day, and to keep that freshness of mind, because really it's, we're there, they're inviting us into serving them, put food in their mouth, have great food, also their time, their money, all the things that come with wanting. So I really want to just deliver on that. And so, what inspires me is how do we get a 16-year-old to do that? How do we get a team of people to do that? And to really see the customer. And it's not easy because, everybody's got, it's a fast-paced business. You're trying to serve them quickly. So for me, it's irrational kindness starts with understanding how the guest is everything,
and not taking it for granted.
Not taking it for granted.
They were walking in the door.
Yeah. And each visit they get, and how do we kind of build not just become we have our systems and standards that help us get there, such as saying my pleasure when somebody is but how do you actually say my pleasure with where you actually mean it from the heart? You can feel it differently. So how do you really, and how do you teach a 16-year-old?
Their head and their heart have got to line up when they say my pleasure.
Yeah. How do you get them to square their shoulders up, look at them in the eyes, speak with an enthusiastic tone? Those are really important things to me. And one thing that I've really been thinking a lot about is how, oftentimes it's real easy for us, and we can do it in so many different areas. You can do it in faith. You can do it in your business philosophies or how you're doing things. You can do it in your family. You sometimes just paint a big brush, and you want that to be that everybody will just form hands and united and go
kumbaya,
forward. But the reality is the work comes in the small details of how do you actually teach somebody what we're talking about, and how do you walk alongside of them and really get them to square their shoulders up, speak. Do you walk along and practice this with them? Do you give them a safe place to get out of their own comfort zone and give them room to fail and be a little weird and wonky, So those are things that I'm into. To how do we actually pull this off where you can actually get in there and teach skills in a different way.
So you shared, between whatever time of the year it is, 400, 450 employees. You just mentioned things about systems, things about culture. And I think I've heard one of the things that you do is coffee with Kevin, right?
Yep.
So this is a way that employees have access to you. Maybe explain what this is and why you do it and what you've seen come from it.
Like the team member I was telling about, she had not yet been to coffee with Kevin. So
you would have remembered that smile.
Yeah. So, but really, what it's a time where a system where I can make sure we're not just going. Sometimes when you bring somebody on board somebody, it's just like. It's like that. Everybody remembers your first day. I usually always have a headache on my first day of work. It's just like overwhelming. So you can only remember so much. You're getting all the little details. So we try and catch them later on, after they've been with us for a short period of time. Okay. That when their brain's a little fresh, and then I can really come alongside all the orientation things and really provide some ideas to cheer them on. Reminding them that they're unique and reminding them they were created original by God. There's no other them in the world. So how do you lean into those skills that God gave them? Yet we're aligned in our purpose of serving hospitality, great food, second mile service, going up and above what the guest expects.
Yeah.
So how do we? I can also do that teaching that failure. Reminding them that So I love to tell them about different failures that have gone on. Everything from, I'll point out to one of our leaders that she was a camp counselor, and she took away one of her counsel kids stick. Well, it was a seeing and impaired person's eye stick. I'm like, so I like to tell everybody else's failures is mainly what I do.
Oh, is that what's happening? Yeah, there's one right there.
So no, but to talk about these opportunities that things that, I show a picture of my sweaty armpits to show you when I was in front of a bunch of people when we were opening one of our second location. I have sweaty armpits and nobody told me about it.
Yeah.
I just love to say, we're going to mess up a ton. It's okay. We're going to take the power away from the irritating things that are going to go bad. And and so to remind them of that, those are things that I just love to get into and remind them and let them feel like they're in a really safe place. But a place that really is going to challenge. I mean, I think it's not just, rational kindness is not just, hey, we're going to, eat donuts and sit around and just be sweet to everybody. We're also really going to push ourselves to growth, and it's in this rub of challenge and a place you feel cared for that I think really growth happens, and that's where we try and create through that is to let them know, hey, you're really going to be cared for. We believe in you, but you also we expect us to give our best. And we expect to give your best, not the best, but your best. So you can really push yourself to discover more about yourself. So whether you work for us forever and we get to retire together, or you go on and become a mechanic or a nurse or a teacher or whatever it is, we'll all leave here knowing better that we're all better than when we started here.
I love that. You talked about failure, and being open and transparent. It's not a sacred cow. I guess at Chick-fil-A, that'd be funny with the cow theme and marketing you have.
Yeah.
But I think you shared before that you see failure as a gift.
Yes.
Right. So talk about irrational, right? Maybe expand on how you see failure as a gift.
Well, maybe it's because I failed. I failed.
You have a lot of experience in that.
I have a lot of experience. Not making not doing, I may have told you the other day where I said I've told my wife one time in 3 weeks, today's a new day. It's like, hey, I got my schedule overwhelmed. I didn't do I didn't live up to what I wanted to try and accomplish. Maybe I just made a bad decision and beat myself up that day for it or whatever. I think there's an opportunity we all have every day to take a deep breath and realize that today's a new day. So I don't care what yesterday was like, or heck, what this morning was like. Me and you can sit here, take a deep breath, and realize this is an opportunity just for us to move forward and see the world in a fresh new way. And to me, it's very it's kind of along the failure line. It's like, hey. And like I said, there's plenty of days I feel, I don't know if you have this day. Some days I think in business, I got it all figured out and I got it all picture perfect in my mind of how business works. And then the next day I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
It all fell apart. Why did all the numbers change from yesterday to these bad numbers today?
I just feel insecure in what I'm doing, or I feel like, exhausted. But there is a chance for us to, sometimes it takes a good night's sleep to take a deep breath and see to see that freshness in today and really, ask God to kind of show you some clarity to the opportunities that we know exist out there. And it maybe requires to shut off some things so we get those distracted noises that can blast us,
And, say no to things like your buddy Bob Goff. Doesn't he try to say no to something every Thursday?
Yeah, every Thursday. Check something off.
Something is no.
Yes, exactly.
I love that practice.
It's awesome.
So let's kind of maybe leave some kind of practical takeaways. Let's say a listener has some influence over their workspace, their work environment, right? So maybe they're not writing books about irrational kindness, or the employer over 450 employees, but what's maybe some first steps that they could take to try to create a more generous work environment where they are?
Yeah, I think for starters, for me, and we have 450, but I haven't always had that. I've had, I think it's to stop and look around sometimes. I think we call it kindness pause is our word we use. How do you pause and look around and refresh? You may have some employee that was wacky a year ago, but they're not wacky today. And if you don't watch it, you'll miss that person. We tell a story about somebody we had. He was going through changes. He had worked for us in high school. Then he moved into college, and he was doing some different things, from being a rapper to being to doing some business, to different things that he wanted to do. So it's easy to judge and look at somebody there. But if we're not careful, that person then changed and grew out of some of that, or it just matured, but they're still there. And all of a sudden we missed an opportunity to invite somebody into a bigger role. And I think it's really the idea of finding and keeping people is to see people where they're at and where they're headed versus to where they've been sometimes. And there can be a fresh new sense of so I just think it's always a matter of how do you come out and see that freshness opportunities in today.
You give like the kindness pause, right? And to see that, like to believe that there is a better future or maybe a better version of that team member, but to kind of, notice when they are, progressing.
Yeah.
Right?
Or we had a time where we were, you couldn't find it. If you remember what did they call it? The Great Resignation, when everybody was leaving. It was I think it was in about August of 2021. If you drove around town, there was help wanted signs everywhere. And so a couple of things we did that were kind of funny from this idea. If you'll just stop for a second, I saw, somebody sent me help wanted signs all over. They sent me like 15 pictures, I think, of now hiring signs all over town. And so what I said was, it sounds like we just need to stop hiring, put a "we're not hiring" sign up. And they're like, haha. I said, well, let's just build a website. We're not hiring. We went out and got the domain, we're not hiring.com. And we did a whole campaign around we're not hiring. Yeah. We hired more people. We had more applications and more. And some of our people were so nutted up about it. But I'm like, it's not like the world needs another "we're now hiring" sign at that particular time.
How are you going to differentiate?
Yeah. So our vibe was we can't hire you. We're not hiring if you don't apply once you got in there. But also if you didn't apply, you could learn about some amazing ministries we partner with in Canton. But it's this idea that how do you pull up whatever you're struggling with? How do you stop and just kind of give it a different angle? And all of a sudden, I just think you discover different things. We had a store that was really, really, really struggling with people. And what I reminded myself was, if Chick-fil-A, if let's say our Chick-fil-A has an Arby's open next to it, they're going to find people to run the Arby's. They just are going to go at it with a different intensity. Sometimes you got to stop and see the opportunities in today and imagine what would be differently if I looked at it from a different angle, just like they would, because they're going to have to staff their store. So they're going to find some humans. So how do we do this from a different angle is oftentimes what I find a lot of opportunity in.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm actually going to let you have a little special segment here because I wish we were recording earlier when we were talking about New Ground, because New Ground is very special to you, and your wife's name is Gwen. And, so listeners, like, if you don't live in Cherokee County, and you've got what you wanted, you can peel off here. But I think it'd just be really cool if you want to hang on a little longer or watch a little longer, if you're viewing, hey guys, that Kevin shares his heart about what him and Gwen has just done in our county, in Cherokee County. I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, New Ground is we started New Ground Foundation, and we've had this property about 15 acres for about 10 years.
Oh, really? That long?
Yeah, dreaming of this idea of around foster adopt parenting was kind of our target. What oftentimes happens in the world is, you can think love is going to be enough, but sometimes you could use some skills to go with this love. And so when you're trying to tackle on some hard things, and it can be marriages, it can be finances, it can be a faith, you can name a million different things it can be. But sometimes we need some skills. Oftentimes we don't live up to those. When things go sideways on us, we can feel like we're on an island. You can feel embarrassed. You can feel like, and we all have those times in our life. Well, this New Ground was something we really wanted to walk alongside foster adopt parenting due to our own little our own past experiences of some of this, where you really could use some skills to go in there. How do we really bring community around some different families that are doing some really hard things, and maybe not catch them when things are sideways, but also maybe be there when they're sideways, where they can have community and lean on each other. So we've got it called New Ground Foundation. It's awesome, and it's a special space that how do we leverage what we do in the community with our different partners, ministries, but also how do we kind of share this message of, hey, you're on new ground today. So maybe your marriage needs a fresh look. Maybe your parenting needs a fresh look. Maybe your faith needs a fresh look. Maybe the way you handle finances needs a fresh look. So how do we kind of use this term? I was telling you that new ground is a farming term when you clear cut this soil and you create this rich, fertile ground for growth to happen. And I hope that's what this space could be that we've created there. That could really be new ground for people that are struggling with things.
I love it. Well, I'm just excited to have optics into it, to be able to get to know you and Gwen, to know what's happening there. Maureen and I, our roots are here. We're going to be able to see what God does with that through you guys, which is really incredible. I love ending the podcast with gratitude. So I'm going to, have you share something after I do about gratitude. But I want to say, God has you so uniquely positioned in this community, like nothing I've ever gotten to see before. So, I was grateful to be invited to your opening of New Ground. I don't know that there's anybody else in our community that can bring the people together that you guys brought together that night. I was blown away. You had pastors there of not just your church, of multiple churches, and I've just been around that community quite a bit with my dad being a pastor. I knew a lot of these pastors. I shook hands with billionaires that were there. I shook hands with very famous authors that were there. I met an architect, a land surveyor that I've only heard his name of forever in the county, and he's there, and I just really, I wasn't able to stay there for that whole evening, but for the time that I was there, I was just in awe of what God did through you guys that night, just to bring those people together. So I'm just so grateful to have some optics into what you guys are doing, the impact that you're making, not just on our community. I'm sure it spills out further, but I think it's such a big deal for a county to have couples like you and Gwen that are so committed, not just in your church or not just in your business, but literally making an impact in the community. And you guys manifest that through your big 5K, which is the biggest 5K, I think, in North Georgia, if not further, and then doing this thing through New Ground. So I want to let you know that I see it. I'm in awe of what God's doing through you. Keep going, and I'm just cheering you on the whole way.
Well, thank you, Tim. You're awesome, and we're doing it together. We're just going to keep doing it together.
So I'm going to try to ride your coattails as best as I can. And I'm glad to have somebody that's leading.
I don't. Some people say you gotta. I think we can just take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
But also we don't want to lose the opportunity that God's given us on our earth in this little season of life. So whatever it is, whatever you're doing, how do we just make the world a little better than when we left it? And I think that's the opportunity we all have. And so it's something we get to do together too. And the nice thing is you don't have to do it alone. We can do it together. And so when we do that, we're going to mess up a ton, but that's just part of the fun of the story. And we're just going to keep rolling and we'll see where God takes it. Amen.
That's incredible. Well, thanks for coming today. Thanks for being a guest. We call it the Money Pig podcast because pig is part of our mission, leading people to financial peace.
Do y'all ever serve barbecue with us, or is there barbecue?
There it is. We'll see. We've got the pig right here. Here's Notorious PIG right here.
I like
the
him.
pig.
Yes.
So, yep, exactly. So that's the acronym of our peace, independence, and generosity. But today, getting to focus on generosity and have you come in, it's been really special.
The pink pig in Atlanta?
Oh, yeah.
You remember the pink pig down at Lenox Mall?
Absolutely.
One time, my father-in-law, we said we're going to ride the pink pig. This when our kids were really little. And we get to the Lenox Mall where that little pink roller coaster was. And he's like, this is bait and switch. I've been thinking we're going to a barbecue restaurant the whole time.
Oh, see if we
do.
So
I thought I was coming to a barbecue today.
Okay. I think a place to get some good lunch. This is the second
best thing to a barbecue.
That'd be great. We start serving barbecue for our guests. So, well, thanks again, Kevin, so much for coming. We're grateful to have you here. And thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Money Pig Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. To stay updated on new episodes, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you found value in today's discussion, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave a rating and review. If you have any questions about the topics we covered, feel free to visit us at goodwininvestment.com and reach out. This episode is produced by evance.net. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, a solicitation to buy or sell any financial products, securities, digital assets, or other investment vehicles, nor as a basis for making any financial decisions. Goodwin Investment Advisory is a registered investment advisor with the SEC, CRD number 131193. Please note that the host and or guests may personally own securities, digital assets, or other investments mentioned in this podcast. Investments carry risk and are not guaranteed unless stated otherwise. We strongly recommend consulting with a qualified financial advisor, tax professional, insurance professional, and/or legal professional before implementing any strategies discussed in this episode. Lastly, past performance is not indicative of future results.